Welcome back, everybody, to another edition of PSTV. It's your commissions in the house, Co-Commish. Any opening words for the gang?
Glad to be back.
That's the best one. Yeah, just welcome,
Yep.
welcome back. Another beautiful season. Already a good slate of games week one. Hopefully, we get a good slate week two, and league median changing the game a little bit. Everybody's watching the scores a little different. We don't know better or worse, but we know interesting so far. So hopefully the show can follow suit, be interesting. It's a little different this episode, and we'll get started with something you guys are familiar with, the Birds of War AP poll. Now, Trav makes spares no expenses. He goes for all 10, which we always appreciate. And you guys saw it. Week two, power rankings after the first week. I'm going to say no real big gripes here, Commish. Any of these rankings kind of jump out to you? I think they're pretty consistent. Ours are a little different, but not too different.
Yeah, nothing too different there. I mean, I could see why he moved the people he did. I mean, especially my team, right?
Yours is probably the gripiest of them, just because I know how good your team is, but you just had some bad luck. Now, if we go over to our power ranks, let's see. We've got, again, mostly the same names, which I guess the big difference is we don't have GOAT in. We both have running and Mafas over in, which get well better or get well soon. Phil Mafa. But yeah, guys, drink those in. We're not going to spend a ton of time on power ranks and matchups this week because we got some new stuff we want to roll out for you and try out. But yeah, but the usual suspects, different flavor based on how we like rosters built.
Mm-hmm.
Matchups and pick 'em. I will go ahead and say that we're mostly aligned, so we'll take turns talking about these matchups. And the first one, Co-Commish, you're up.
Yeah, I mean, just one liner here. I don't think Josh Allen's going for 40 again. That's
easy.
What it really comes down to.
I'm gonna whip them out on my phone right now too. I forgot how to be a host. And I don't have sleeper anywhere. So I'm like, all right, let me see. All right. So why did I have Nish? So we both got Nish winning. My quick prediction liner is just that I think I'm gonna say it's the onesie positions I feel more comfortable with. Like we just saw Lamar put up a ton on Buffalo, and Kelsey's got a lot of opportunity available to him if he can capitalize, versus I'm not comfortable with Tua this week and Ferguson this week. And then you've got Co-Commish, you got Trav versus GOAT.
I think I really like this matchup. I could have gone either way on it. Really, it just came down to the matchup's more juicy for Travis. Like, yeah, you have Kyler going against Carolina, but then you also have James Conner going against Carolina. I think this will be more of a running back heavy game. So I see Travis pulling away there. I do like GOAT's team. I think really he's missing one or two spots to really make a big impact. But that's a little bit teaser for later on this episode, but hopefully that's about it. Yeah,
he'd be an interesting team to do our next segment on, so we'll see how it all shakes out. I've got Co-Commish himself against the Super Mario Bros, who put up a dud last week, and I think Co-Commish's team we're gonna have it, guys. They shit the bed. We're gonna have that some weeks. You're gonna have some high scoring weeks, some low scoring weeks. You play it's an averages game at the end of the year, so I think this is overdue for a big output. We saw a lot of opportunity in that running back room, like a lot of touches across all those starting running backs you have. So I think that floor is too dangerous, and I don't think Diego's and I don't think the Mario Bros have the upside swing to catch up. And we went opposite ways on the final matchup of the week. So, Co-Commish, can you tell me why you have Jay Molly winning this one?
Yeah, I think the Bengals are due for a bounce back. The reason he didn't do as hot was just because, I mean, the Bengals for first couple of weeks stumps, like they got to get that rust off. For some reason, that happens every single year. I like Daniel's chances, but I think that Green Bay Packers defense is the
Nasty.
truth. Michael Parsons coming in already showed what he was doing for Dallas. I mean, he got paid, he got the bag. I I think it was a little bit of a fluke, especially in terms of like matchups like Casey, like Barkley against KC. I think Casey fixes that defensive scheme. And I just like the matchup a bit more on Jay Moley's side, where I do see Tyler Warren getting peppered. Imagine that with a touchdown, like against Njoku, who's against Baltimore, who I mean is fanning the truth, is like that what we're talking about now. Is he like new hotness? I mean, we'll see what happens there. I think that's why I leaned Jay Moley in this one.
I also think Cincinnati comes back. So this is probably, honestly, it's probably the wrong pick. We'll see how. We'll see how. No, I mean, just to be honest, so we'll see how it goes. I think what made me pick Chile in this instance was I just think again, like if I'm looking at the floor, I don't know that I buy Javonte having a repeat performance. I think that was a surprise. So honestly, probably to the league too. I don't think that's going to be in the script. And same with like Tillman. I don't know that I'm buying the floor on a couple of these guys. Whereas like I'm sure I can be concerned about Njoku, and he doesn't have to play him. He's got Hawk. He can let Hawk rock and then go for somebody else. So maybe I would do something a little different with the lineup there. But in general, I just think I trust the players that are on Chile's side to come through for him a little bit more. So I think I just go with what I think are safe players. But that's the thing about Dynasty, right? It's like we could have a changing of the guard, because if Warren, Tillman, Tyler, and Cedric Tillman, for example, are going to be like turning the corner, and Tyler in his rookie year, like we could be having new studs taking over, and he could be at the forefront of that, J Molly. But I'm
Mima.
The Human Torch.
The human. All right.
Wait, there was do you know Bobby Lee has a podcast?
Yeah.
That Bad Friends podcast. They had an episode where they have Jack Black, and he does a bunch of those like the Human Torch, but he does Lucy likes like literature, and I just remember it. He had some good ones. It was like a big black bug bit a big brown bear, and so I was like, oh, that's actually good. And then Bobby Lee does it, and he's like, the Valencia Hotel is underground next to Burger King. And he just talks about whatever, and that
freaking Bobby Lee.
So next we're gonna become some backseat drivers, guys. I think something that has been missing just in the show, a little bit of diversity, a little bit of creativity, doing something different. So we came up with basically a what would commissioners do segment, and we may get to just one team this week. We're not. We'll kind of play that by ear as we go. But basically, all you guys need to know is we're about to spin this wheel, and we're going to break down somebody's roster. We're going to figure out what direction we would go in. We're going to figure out what are some kinds of trades we would do if we were in your shoes. And we're going to offer some, just advice on how your roster is constructed, and maybe what might be more optimal to try to shift to. So without further ado, let me get the spin the wheel going.
Spin that wheel. Spin that wheel.
All right, and then more just rusty host stuff. But Kamish, can you see the spin the wheel?
Yes, work? Sir. Yes, it looks like it's working.
All right, we're gonna spin. I know sometimes these get laggy when you're rewatching them on the video, but let's see who's roster.
In the meantime, feel free to subscribe to YouTube TV and
Fate.
The GOAT. Wow. Fate, it was a preview.
All right. That's crazy. Okay. So we're going to go ahead. I'm going to find his roster. This is probably the easiest way to do it. I haven't really even thought about this yet. But the trade, and if you guys don't know this screen, I'm sure you do. But if you don't, you can look at everybody at a glance, and it already organizes by position group. So it'll be a pretty easy comparison for us. Oh gosh! All right, where do we go with the GOATS team, man? I want to say I would like to go, and we'll figure it out. Me and Kokomish,
I guess I kind of want to start it off.
Go ahead.
Should he push to contend, or is he a rebuilding team?
I think the first place we need to look at is the picks, and this might change as we go. But right now, he's got 4 picks this year. 1, 2, 3 next year. Okay, he's got most of his own picks. He's not heavy. His roster's not heavily liquidated, right? There's not a ton of flexibility. So I think it's easier to try to go push in, because I don't know that he has the capital to go buy a bunch of guys. Or I should say that he's going to have the capital to buy many players, like many young assets. So I would try to buy into some aging guys to try to make the push, because you could probably afford them a little bit better.
Yeah.
I think I'd like to see him push his chips in, but let's go position by position, group by position, and we'll figure out whether or not that stays the case. So we've got Kyler, JJ, and Daniel Jones. Based on what I'm just going to be raw, right? Like McCarthy, I'm throwing to the trash for this year. I don't have any expectations for him. I think the team's good, but I just think so far in 1 week, so it's not a big sample size, I just don't think there's going to be a lot of opportunity for him. I don't think he's going to get the ball in his hands a ton. So I don't think he helps you win this year. I think he's interesting down the line, but he's a stash asset, not a playoff asset. Daniel Jones, do you believe what you saw in week 1?
I think there are glimpses of what the Giants saw when he got paid. I don't think I think it's more. I think he went off because it was the Dolphins' defense. I think that's what happened, personally. I think I invested a little bit into Daniel Jones, hoping to see, like, maybe this is going to be him, like, his consistent performance, especially since, you just have Jonathan Taylor, right, which opens up a lot of that offense, especially when you got Josh Downs and Michael Pittman on the edges, and then you just have Tyler Warren as a nice blanket. I could see Daniel Jones doing well. Maybe not a top 5 quarterback, but potentially top 10. I do see the scenario where he could do better than JJ McCarthy this year. But it's Daniel Jones. It's like, how do you trust that?
I can give that he could outproduce JJ McCarthy this year, but I don't think either of those are quarterback 1 productions this year. So, and I think too, the way that we probably want to consider this asset, right, is like, does it matter if Daniel Jones finishes as the quarterback 10 this year? Can you even do anything with him? Like, who's going to buy him?
Not really. No.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? Because throughout the whole year, you're going to basically be holding him. If you play him over Kyler without an injury, good for you. The ball's on you to do that. But he's sitting on your bench, and he's not going to acquire value, right? What the scenario of events that has to unfold for him to be a more valuable dynasty asset than a waiver guy is like he has to go win a Super Bowl or some shit. Like, he has to do something incredible to be like, okay, I guess I trust him. Because otherwise we're always going to be skeptical unless he does it 2 years in a row or 3 years in a row. And by then he's 30. So I don't think this is a guy who you're going to be able to trade. I would be interested in, and it's so hard because the quarterback market is oversaturated in this league, I would consider, like, if you think Daniel Jones is any good, you should trade Kyler and see if, like,
Yeah.
can you put Kyler in a deal with something and let Daniel Jones make or break your year, because you can improve somewhere else if you think they're going to have comparable production. I'd be interested in that. I don't know who's buying, because for example, Corey's trying to Bad Wolf is trying to sell Josh Allen, and you can't sell Josh Allen. How hard is it going to be to sell Kyler? But there's gonna be an inflection point where people are going to have to realize, like, I can't sell guys for what I want. I'm gonna have to sell them for what their market value is, for what the market dictates. So we'll see. Overall, I don't see this as a difference-making quarterback room. Like, difference-making being, if you're in a 10-team league, you got to have a top 3 to 5 player, and I don't see that here. So that's 0 for 1 position group wise to me. We've got running back, we've got Taylor, we've got Dobbins, Hampton, Chubb. Okay. Well, obviously, you guys can read what's on screen, and me and Kokamish can also read what's on screen. So, does this room scream one way or the other? Like, this is a contending room, or this is a young, promising, upcoming room, or is it somewhere in between?
Somewhere in between, right? But I think it's more young, promising, where this team could be scary in the second half of the season. RJ Harvey, Omarion Hampton, those two key pieces, I think, will be contributors for a contending team. But I think this year is too early. If he doesn't rack up enough wins in the first couple of weeks, I think he might be a bubble team, and it might be too late for him to actually benefit from the RJ Harvey, Hampton rookie running backs.
That's interesting, because you're saying you think they could be a good late team, and I was like, this in my mind, looking at the running back room, I was like, Dobbins, Chubb, this is probably a team that's better suited for the beginning of the year with this running back.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
But I think you talked me into, I think you're talking me into, without even realizing, I think this should be a selling team. Because this running back room, Chubb and Dobbins are not going to produce more in the back half of the year, right? So either this team needs to steal early wins, which so far not doing, and it'll be extra hard once we get to the receiver room, because we've got a lot of suspensions and missing players.
Yeah.
So I'm like, if I don't think this team is going to steal any wins early, and you're going to have to stockpile wins on the back end, you've got a small margin for error.
Correct.
So couldn't you trade, could you trade Dobbins or Chubb to a team that thinks they're in the contending window and just liquidate, get something? Could you do, okay, it's the first one we're finally going to get to do this, right? But let's say Dobbins, right? I mean, I'm interested in Dobbins, for example, not that I need more running backs, but just, I think there's a market for him.
I mean, look at the team right next to his, right?
Right. So
Diego needs running backs.
That's a good one. That's a good one. That's a good one, assuming Diego wants to buy.
Yeah, true.
Which we'll see, right? Because there's a fine line between sticking to the process and then eventually being like, dude, I want to win some games sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want to just keep feeding the piggy bank. But let's do that. What do you think? What would you think is a reasonable offer between those two teams? And I'll find one more as well. You want to see anything else? You want to scroll down? You want to see some other assets? And
I mean, if I was just to think about picks, right? I do know Diego, I think, is stacked with second round picks.
So let's just look at his picks then.
Yeah.
You think you could get a second for Dobbins? Okay.
I think you could get a second and a third, a mid second and a late third for Dobbins and Chubb, potentially. Why? Because I do believe Nixon is coming back sometime in the season.
Okay.
He still needs a bit of ramp up time to like after week 5.
Yeah.
And if Diego wants a chance at making it to playoffs, I think that's the type of move that he needs to make with all of those picks. Unfortunately, you're not getting a first for Dobbins and Chubb, right? Dobbins is out the window potentially next year, if not the year after that. Chubb, he's a 1-year deal. He might just be a backup for the next 2 to 3 years, So I think you could make some sort of deal where you could get like a second and a third for next year to ramp up on younger running backs to back up Harvey and Hampton.
I like that.
You could go for more, right? I mean,
or just different assets. I think that's fair value. I don't. I mean, just like I'm not. And I know everybody's got their own reactions, but I don't vomit thinking like if I'm on either end of that trade proposal. Like I think it's a fair starting point, and you switch some players in and out. I like that. I think that makes sense. I think little Chubb is probably done. Like, not that he's ever tanked, but like he always wants to be in the mix. I think it'd be interesting because right now he's trying to play Trey Benson and Braylon Allen. I'm like, he could be somebody else. You could go to, and you could get maybe, maybe if he doesn't trust his tight end room, maybe you can send him as well, like a Johnson or a Gesicki plus a running back. And could you score back, his future second and a flyer player like Jatavian Sanders or just somebody who can sit on your roster and you can see if he turns into something.
Yeah, like Little Chubb already has an aging roster. Like just go all in. Like put all your chips in. Like get Chubb. I mean, he's gonna get his carries. Get Dobbins. He's gonna get his better than what you're already putting out there right now with that running back room you have.
And then we go to the receiver room, and Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, Tank Dell, and Jordan Addison.
It's tough. It's a nice room, man.
That's a room that's just the guys who aren't going to play for you the first third of the year, at least, right? So I'm like, man, I think that's the nail in the coffin. I think, and guys, we're going to be breaking the fourth wall a lot, I guess, but that's the timer on this segment. But I mean, they could go a little longer just to wrap it. But when I see those guys who aren't going to be there, I'm like, why not take something? You don't have to trade them away, but it makes me think your direction should go rebuild, because you're going to be struggling as it is. Like your roster is as healthy as it's going to be right now, and you're already this strapped for players.
Yeah.
So once more injuries come, I think it's going to be really tough sledding. I would love to see this team. Could they sell? Looking at this receiver room, could they sell?
Just sell Rice and Addison to a team that's already strong, right?
Could be selling Rice, could be selling Addison. They could be part of a package, because it's tough to sell those guys to a contender. But I almost would even liquidate, right? I would just say I like Rice and Addison. I'm not saying they're bad players, but if I got 2 seconds for Addison, for example, if you were not sure he's going to be the wide receiver one for the Vikings ever, then maybe having 2 seconds next year lets you go buy better production or different flyers to take, right? Could you get rid of Addison and for a second get Jacoby Myers, for example, or somebody else like that, right? But somebody who is going to produce similar to Addison, and then you'll still have a spare second to go take your shot on your next receiver, whoever it's going to be coming out this year. I'd be interested in seeing if you could do those kind of deals that, you don't necessarily get a worse player, but you just rearrange how your value is composed on your roster. So, and then the tight end room, Ingram and Gesicki, those are his guys. They're a little aging. I think we talked, at least me, we talked me into, I think I would love to see him tank. And I know he watches college football, so I know he could do a hell of a job drafting,
Shit, dude, I love the way he drafted this year. Like, I loved that Hampton pick. I loved RJ Harvey. I mean, even before that, uh, I think he has McConkey, right? Like, I
Yep.
love the picks that he's made in the draft. He knows his shit. The Senator, like, unfortunately, he hasn't panned out right now, but I think the Senator could be another Ingram where he has his breakout year. Like, Goat knows his shit, and he's going to get the value in the draft. So, I almost would say that I think his best shot is going rebuild this year, especially because like the main pieces that you would be relying on, especially on the wide receiver, are out. And the rookies that you're relying on, I think they still need a little bit more time, if not just a year, right, to fully mature, to fully take on that RB1 role. Yeah, that's just my 2 cents there.
I think so. Okay. I think we covered a pretty good amount of stuff there. I would say we didn't talk too much about roster construction. Long story short, though, I'd like to see some of the value that's sitting on his roster at the same position, like we talked about with quarterback, maybe go to a different position or even just the draft capital. Because I know we've added an extra flex, but we're still relatively like lighter on the number of starters for a typical dynasty league. So I just wonder if too much value is sitting on the bench that you're not moving. So yeah, I think interesting. Just a quick, I guess, a reaction to his roster and a freestyle on what we would do if we had to make the choice. Like if he was an orphan team and we were taking it over together, like that's my first.
Those would be the moves that I think we start looking at.
Okay. I like that. Guys, well, that pretty much brings us to the conclusion of this episode. If you guys like the segment, we can keep doing it. And depending on how, maybe you want more in-depth, less in-depth, we're open to trying stuff out. I think in general this year, we're trying to figure out like, okay, what's some stuff we can do that makes the show fun for us to record and doesn't get stale for you guys to watch. So hopefully you guys like the episode. Co-commission, any last words?
No, just like, subscribe, and follow.
All right. That's all it is. Peace out, guys.
Peace.